You're a photographer or you're a filmmaker and you want to know the difference between a creative director on this side and a producer on this side. In fact, this is inspired by a question that we got on our YouTube channel. A creative director, let's just say, lives in this section here. A producer lives over here. You're stuck right down the middle. Stuck in a good way. You are the one that has to hear yapping on this side, but also yapping on this side. So what is the difference between a creative director and a producer? So the creative director is from the point of view of the client, the people that pay you. They have the ultimate voice because they're the ones signing the checks for you. And their job is to look after everybody and everything, and they see the big picture. So they see what's gonna happen in 6 months, or they see what's gonna happen in 12 months, and you may not have access to that. So a lot of times they're gonna be yapping in your ear and saying, a little more gritty, a little more urban, a little more LA, a little more whatever they want. And it might annoy the crap out of you, but they're going to sign the checks for you, and they're the ones that's going to be hiring the photographer or the filmmaker. So you just tilt your head and you smile. On the producer side, they are in charge of your shoot. Now they're kind of in charge, but they're kind of not, but they are at the same time. If it was to go like pound for pound, like you're just fighting, they would win 51% of the arguments, and I'll tell you why in a second, and you would win 49% of the arguments. The reason why is that they are in charge of the money, they're in charge of the contracts, they're in charge of the legalities, and everybody that you hire has to go through that producer. That's why they win 51% of the fights, because ultimately money, the dollar, is that ultimate vote. So they are making sure, the producer side is making sure that your shoot runs efficiently, and they're the ones that's like, do you really need this next shot? Can we just cut it? Can we cheat it? Can we let this person go? Hey, this person needs more overtime. What do you think? The creative director doesn't get involved in that. They're overseeing the entire thing. A good way to think of it is you are the player on the field. You're the one out there doing things. The producer is your coach, and they're telling you certain movements, but you still have control too. And then the creative director is like the head of that stadium or the NFL or whichever league. And they're overseeing all of it, and you have to comply by their rules. The other thing too is that when we look at who is going to win all the battles, the creative director wins all of it. Another thing you want to know about the difference between a producer and a creative director is that ultimately your job is to not complain, but you kind of have to, in a way, to make the creative you do really, really well. And you're going to fight with them, but you have to recognize that their job is to make sure that you stay in line and that you do things accurately. They're going to argue with you too. You're going to have to be really softer with them because there's a lot of ego. I'm a creative director. I am the big guy on set. When you argue with them, you still have to always kind of end like a statement with like, obviously you get the final say, but this is what I think. A good creative director will not have an ego, but they will have a lot of experience, and they will say, I see what you're saying. Okay, let's get your shot, but then let's also get mine. And that's the perfect situation. The reason why, as your bonus for this, why I tell photographers, you cannot call yourself a creative director until you're wholeheartedly qualified to be one, is because you cannot be the person that hires the photographer and the photographer yourself. How are you the judge, and then how are you the plaintiff or the defendant? So it's really important that if you're going to play both roles, that you're reasonable and that you play a little game of bipolarism. So when I've done that a couple handful of times, that I've played both roles, and that's only up to like 12, 13 years of my career. What I have done is say, okay, right now I am going to be the director, and I'm only going to think very selfishly as a director. I'm going to think a straight path. I don't care. I'm going to ask for every single thing I want. I'm going to demand certain things. Okay, it's all written down. Okay, great. Now let me switch over and let me be creative director. And then I start thinking, and I'm only and I don't care about Walid, the director, Walid, the photographer. I'm thinking about everything from the creative directorville, and I'm thinking about how they're going to benefit the overall project and how it's going to benefit the brand. That's why you can't call yourself creative director that fast. Hope that helps you, and let's get to the next vlog.